Welcome to the Hanley Effect, a podcast by the Hanley Foundation designed to educate, change minds, and save lives. Our goal is to inspire you, showcase our innovations, and change the conversation about addiction and mental health. Join us as we unravel stories of resilience, recovery, and hope.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to the Hanley Effect. I'm John Dyben.
I'm Rachel Docekal.
How are you doing, Dr. D?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Our guest today is from a place that's near and dear to me, Orlando.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Disney World.
Well, that's one of the reasons Orlando's near and dear to me, right? So, plus my, family, a lot of my family lives there. Mm-hmm. I lived there for a time, but no one on the planet loves Disney more than my wife.
Yes.
And so being a father of four and husband of one, there is, we spend a lot of time there, but we're not here to talk about Orlando.
Father of four, husband of one. I love that. I haven't heard that before.
That's,
There you go.
Got to be clear that I'm, yes, no double lives being lived right now. But
sorry, it's hilarious.
Sorry. Can I introduce our guest?
Yes. Introduce.
Okay. So I'm glad to introduce our guest today. We have Ryan Penley. Ryan is a nationally certified recovery coach. He's a podcast host. He's an author. And he's a man in recovery. And he spends a lot of his life writing about what it is to be in recovery, to be recovered, and the message that people need to hear. More importantly, he is the father of a 1-year-old.
Oh, he is very tired.
Oh, so he has not slept and guess what?
12 months and 3 days.
He won't sleep for many, many more years to come, right? So
is your baby walking?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Oh, just wait, Ryan.
And I'm doing my best to be patient and not try to hurry it up, I suppose, because once we cross that, it's like no coming back. And then it takes it to another level. Right. So I'm aware.
Right.
And what is it that you say though?
Oh, that it is long days and short years.
I love that.
Yeah.
Ryan, yes, we're being terrible hosts. Welcome, Ryan. We're so glad to have you. Thank you for being here. You're coming on, doing all the things you're doing. We'd love to hear about, what we love to always hear about is who are you? What do you do? Tell us about those things. But we're really also interested in the journey that brought you to where you are today. So would you tell us who are you? What do you do? And how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. So I'm Ryan. I'm just a guy, really, but a guy who's familiar with the rock bottom. And so I feel called. I feel that it's my responsibility to reach back to people that may have been in circumstances that I'm familiar with, like the me 5 years ago, if you will, right? Like that version of myself and who was maybe just starting to get a taste of recovery. I'm really working with those types of people, right? And so if you notice, I've been sober for about 6 years, but I really work with people that are, have got some sobriety under the belt and they're starting to ask themselves, well, now what do I do? Right? Like, okay, I'm not in the trenches, right? Because that was a pivotal moment for me. It was like, okay, I'm not fighting hour by hour to, not pick up the bottle, and so, but then there was this piece of me that wanted more. And I wondered if there were more, right? And so it was a big deal. And there was really no resources out there. I had no mentorship. I had no real leadership. And so, it was, again, I've delved into that space of men who are in their, 30s to 40s. And they're thinking okay, now I gotten sober because a real easy way to slip and maybe relapse is when you think that there's nothing else. It's like when there's nothing else on top of it, And so, that's what I'm doing these days. Yes, I've written a book about it, and I've been on a perpetual journey to organize my thoughts and my approach to be of the most assistance that I could possibly be. I mean, that's the name of the game.
Giving it back, moving it forward.
What initially brought you to this journey of beginning recovery in the first place?
Are you talking about like the rock bottom moments, or are you talking about like applying it for the help of others?
What initially brought you to knowing like I need to change in my life, whether it's that, maybe it's that rock bottom moment or that, but what was it that led you to that? And then I love that you said, there was kind of this period of in between, and now you had like this mission. So there's your life was on a path, and you said, I got to make a change. And you made a change, and then your life is on a path and you made another change. So I'm thinking about those changes. So what brought you to knowing that you needed to find recovery in the first place?
Well, that was a no-brainer, if you will, because, I looked around and my life had completely fallen off of the rails, right? So, I went into a diabetic coma because I had damaged my body with pills and alcohol for so many years. I developed diabetes. And so, it was not traditional diabetes, like from obesity and things like that. I just had done so many narcotics. It was, I'd done internal damage. So I found myself in a coma, and then I was wanted in 3 states. And so here I was like, just kind of on the run, ducking and weaving, trying to find work and just kind of getting along, hiding from everybody, including myself. This went on for a while. I lived in Las Vegas for 11 years, which is a long time for Las Vegas, by the way. Your time in Las Vegas is finite, whether you're there for 2 or 3 days or 10 years. There's you typically leave broke, and and so I was no different, and so I found myself kind of just running away from myself, running away from my problems, and things got really nasty, and so my health started to decline. And as I had mentioned, I ran into several run-ins with the law. And so when I was looking around, it wasn't a question of whether or not I needed to change my life. It was whether or not I had the ability or willpower or desire. And so along the trail there, along the journey, I had lost the desire. I had thrown in the towel, like, wholeheartedly. And so it gets darker before the sun rises, right? And so it was true in my particular journey as well. And so it wasn't like whether or not I was questioning whether or not I needed help. I just was searching and trying to find the gumption. I was trying to find the faith that I could. And so, that was a real struggle, and it went on for a very long time. And so when I am explaining this, usually I think maybe for somebody looking from the outside in, they typically believe, or they have the perception that it's a moment, or a circumstance, like just one. And it's just rarely the truth. It was the culmination of several rock bottom moments over and over and over for probably about 8 straight years. And that included, my mother accusing me of trying to cut her head off. So I went to jail for that. I mean, it got downright nasty. I was in a full on fight with Satan, and I was losing. I was losing pretty bad. And I was like, oh man, I was like up against the ropes. And so, but that's, so to answer your question, maybe the long way about it, but yeah, it was very clear. Like it wasn't, I wasn't one of those people like, do I have a drinking problem? Like it was like, oh, it is most certainly a drinking and drug problem. And so, then I guess the difficult part was like, what do I do next? Right. So hopefully that answers your question.
No, that answered the question, but I think it's a really important answer, because the truth is that there is a myth out there that there's this single, that if, there's one thing that if somebody reaches this or reaches this, that'll be it, and you're talking about, I lived in the bottom and kept digging holes for 8 years. Right. And it is very rarely, and I've been working in this for with people for a long time, struggling with this. It is very, very rarely that it is an event. It is almost always a series of events. And I think it's important for people to hear. I think it's important for families to understand as well, that the idea of the single event for most people is really a myth.
Yeah. Right. I agree. And the other thing that we find at Hanley, and I'm sure you hear this, is the stories. They really are, you can look back and you can find, a chuckle out of some of them. I mean, listen, all of those things in and of themselves were catastrophic, but they formed who you are today. And, they are informing your recovery. I'm curious, one of the things that we do hear people say is when they hit somewhere around 5 years, 3 to 5 years in recovery, they realize that they have a life beyond their wildest dreams. And, I did wait to ask you this question until we were in front of our listeners when you shared that you have a 1-year-old. To me, that sounds pretty close to a life beyond your wildest dreams. So speak to that if you would.
Yeah, I mean, there's I talk about this often, that in like the heat of addiction and substance abuse, my entire time frame was shrunk to about 4 hours. I slept for 4 hours. I thought 4 hours ahead. It was incredibly difficult for me to stretch even into an entire day. Why is that? Well, that was about how long I stayed high or drunk, typically, right? Like, at around that mark is when I would start needing to, continue my abuse, right? So it was like everything shrunk to that 4 hour time window. And so at early stages of recovery, like, so I had some sobriety under my belt, and I was talking to a good friend, and he would say, well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I said, oh my God, 5 years. I'm like, but I really worked on it. It was something that I found very like perplexing, that I couldn't think 5 years ahead. Like, I was just unable to. And so I had to methodically work on my ability to think into the future. It started, of course, with a day at a time, right? And then a week. And then, of course, but it was at a 4 hour window. And so as I begun to expand my tunnel vision, if you will, I was trying to see into a future self of how I could be. And over time, I developed, right? And so to answer your question, Rachel, like if you were to ask myself 5 years ago, like, would I have a child, be married, be doing any of the things that I'm doing, the answer would be like, you're crazy. Because I'll tell you right now, I was like applying to work at Dunkin' Donuts, and I was applying and I was getting denied.
Not getting hired.
Not getting hired. And it was like, we have some
right.
questions about your background. I'm like,
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
So now I have a LinkedIn profile. I'd be like, whoa, what are you, crazy? Like, so anyways, unimaginable, to use one word to describe, unimaginable, the life that I have now compared to what I could have.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And just to say, if anybody's listening instead of watching, they can't see, but just over your shoulder on the bookshelf is this book. It says Man Up, Sober Up. And I believe that it has your name as the author.
Yep. It was my book, my self-published book, and I had enough guts to really pull it off. And it was life-changing. Right. It was life-changing. And it's part memoir and part tactics, I suppose, like strategies, I imagine, that worked for me. Basically borrowed from people much wiser than myself. But like, it was to put that book out was really to solidify, to legitimize the journey. And really, it's these days I kind of use it as like a calling card. And I share it with people as often as I can, just to let them know that, like, it's totally possible. You're not alone. And it may feel like, it's never going to happen, but it may be just that next time. It might be just getting fall down 7 times, get up 8, right? It's a biblical reference, but it's like,
right.
It's and the numbers aren't necessarily as important as, like, you could be 101, but maybe it's 102 you get up, or if it's 10 and then the 11th time you get up one last time. It just takes the one last time to get up. And so that's really my it's my calling card, like I had said. Like, it's a life-changing journey.
And when I think about your story, I think about, that whole thing, I think about that term man up,
Mm-hmm.
and that sober up, and I wonder, it has some, both negative connotations, like just suck it up and you should be able to just suck it up and sober up. And why don't you just put the plug in the jug? And so I'm assuming you heard that in your journey, like in those 8 years. I'm assuming you heard those things a million times. What is it about those things that you're like, this is the title of my book. What does that mean to you? Because it sounds like you're putting a different meaning to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so oftentimes things can be simple, but very hard to do. Right. And so it's like, like the delivery of it seems harsh. And it is very short, right? So it's concise, but nonetheless, it doesn't change how difficult it is to actually pull off. And so, the message is really, again, it's very simple, but as I kind of delve into the book and into the reading, and you start to realize it wasn't that simple. It rarely is. However, once you start really finding yourself towards the better end of a recovery journey, you realize that it was that simple all along. And so there's a beauty to that, right? And there's also, when you like looking back, right? It's easier. It's so much. It's a blessing to be able to say on this end of the recovery journey or where I'm at now, right? Like, oh, it's so easy. So it's such a blessing and all this stuff. But people that are in the trenches, they don't want to hear that, right? But, as you kind of read into the book, like you get it, like it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't instantaneous by a long shot. And like I had mentioned before, it was a full on fight with the enemy. And it wasn't one and just, a few rounds. It was a very long, long battle.
I always think about it in, whether in terms of sobriety or sometimes we talk about that in being spiritually healthy or spiritually fit. Mm-hmm. I think about it in terms of like physical fitness. I'm not in the shape that I want to be, not mm-hmm. because it's so complicated. I mean, the truth is, I know exactly what I need to do to get into the shape I want to do. It's actually pretty easy or pretty simple, but it's really hard. So I could see, getting to a point where I do the exercise and I eat right and I do what I need to do. Those really simple things. And I get well, and I'm like, this is not complicated. This is all you have to do. And it sometimes if people, that's all they hear, mm-hmm. it kind of, the truth is that, yeah, it's simple, but it's not easy.
And I will share with our listeners that Dr. Dyben stopped at Taco Bell on the way over here today.
Did you just tattle on me?
I totally
100%. Ryan, Dr. D just tattled on me.
That doesn't feel as bad as the bill you're going to get in the morning on, you're going to pay for that. You're going to pay
or later today.
You're going to get a bill in the not too near future, right? Like you're going to get a bill for that one. That decision was a poor one.
So Ryan, I'm interested in how your journey has brought you to a place where you're really saving lives by sharing your story. And you haven't been shy about it. You get out there and you combat stigma in everything that you do. Talk to us about that, because sometimes social media, for example, it's not kind.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's so funny you said that, because I just earlier today I saw a comment that said that I was a scam. And I'm like, all right, people are going to say those opinions, they'll come at you, especially, if you're near a breakthrough, or if you're near, once you get the closest to the mountaintop is when you're going to hear, hear that roar from the enemy even louder. Right. And so it's been,
right.
It's been something that's been prevalent the entire journey, is that sometimes you get that resistance, but that's how you know you're on the right path. That's how you know you're right on the right path. And so, in helping other people, I feel like the stigma that you had mentioned, it's all about perception, right? And so, like, I've been trying to express, I've been expressing that addiction could be a superpower, right? Like you could argue, right, that like Steve Jobs was addicted to innovation, right? He had foregone time with his family. He had probably made some enemies along the way. He had probably participated in many addictive natured behaviors, right, in the pursuit of innovation. Mother Teresa, probably the same thing. Her behaviors in the pursuit of peace and care, probably similar to a drug addict in their pursuit of their drugs. And so my point is that if you could take that tenacity, right, if you could take that tenacity and that drive and that focus and just apply it to something valuable and useful and something that's not selfish, all of a sudden you can change the world. And so if the addictive nature doesn't always necessarily have to be evil or bad if it's not something that is selfish and self-centered and it's for the care of others. Like you could be an addict for something good. And then so like it could be a superpower. And so when you change that perception, I think that it kind of tells people like, you know, it wasn't in your cards to be moderate. It's not in mine. By no means. Moderation is just not on the table for me. So it's like, okay, well, why don't I take that tenacity and I take that drive and I take that desire, but I start using it for something positive. And then what I've found is that when I've done that, it changes the game.
So Ryan, talk a little bit how you do deal with online hate. You know, this is really an issue, a very prevalent issue that contributes to people's mental health. And, you know, as a very public figure, I'm just wondering, how do you deal with it?
Well, I would hesitate to use my example as a good example, maybe for like a general person, because the humility that I had gained in my recovery journey makes me pretty much shameless. Like it's just so hard to hurt my feelings. Like I could take just about anything, but so I think I'm skewed as far as like the general public is concerned. But if it does hurt people, I understand it's a real problem that, you know, you have to be weary about like, now, there's no shortage of protection that you can make to keep your page private and all that kind of stuff. And I recommend that people, especially younger people, like if it really bothers you to see these comments, then you've got to protect yourself, because there's if you completely let down that wall, right, people can cast stones at you relentlessly.
Mm.
Yes.
And so now for myself, like I feel I oddly appreciate it. Right. Because I know that it's just part of it. Right. And if you're not making some people upset, then you're not out there competing. You're not out there in the fight if you're not getting some people kind of talking some stuff about you. Right. Like, so to me, I use that as like, it's a part of the thing. It's a part of the game. You know, no matter which team you're on or whatever you're playing for, if you're on the big stage, you're going to have some people that dislike you or want to be mean to you. And so that's a good question to ask yourself, though, before getting to that level. Or I wouldn't imagine anybody could get to a very high stage without having some tough skin, right? And so, you know, for myself, I'm pretty much impenetrable. Like I have no shame. It doesn't hurt me, especially when I know inside my heart. Like I mentioned, somebody said I was a scam. That's fine, because I know deep down I couldn't be anything further from the truth.
That's right.
Like somebody said, oh, you're just trying to make money off your book. And I'm like, well, joke's on you, because anybody that's written a book knows you don't really make any money on books.
Especially when you self-publish. Right. Let's see, did I recoup what I put into it yet? Not quite.
And not for nothing. You got diapers to buy. I hope you do make money off your book.
That's right. I hope if you just inspire one person to go to treatment, just one person, you know, you saved a life.
Yeah.
Great.
And that's
great.
And it really is, it's a noble pursuit that I've chosen. Right. And so, and I feel wholeheartedly like, you know, without, there is no testimony without a test. And so I want to use that. I want to maximize that. I want to maximize that to the best. And that involves sharing it with people that are going to make fun of you or whatever, or be mean to you. It's a part of it. So
that's right.
The calling is like,
the joke's on them. I mean, so we once a year, we have a big alumni barbecue at Hanley. We have a very beautiful big campus, and this past year, we had just shy of 500 alum come. John actually donned an apron and smoked brisket and ribs, and it was amazing. You didn't sleep for 2 days. You were pretty stinky, my friend.
It's my stinkiest and favorite weekend of the year. So you'll have to come. We'll let you know when it is.
Oh, that would be great.
Drive your family down. Come to the barbecue.
I would love that.
So,
but
I'm curious about your eating habits, John. Like you got Taco Bell, and then you have the Taco Bell, and then the ribs. I don't know, man.
I just cook those. We get a team of people literally that come out and sleep outside next to a wood burning barbecue, huge barbecue, and we cook for almost 500 people. Cook briskets and ribs, and it's the best thing. It's just the greatest time, and it celebrates. But you're exactly right. We I think of so many people who even recently I got an email from a man last night who said, it just came in such a broken point in his life. And he emailed me last night and he said, John, I've got a year tomorrow. And
so
he's getting his 1 year medallion on Tuesday. So there's so being a part of recovery, being a part of the healing process. Because, man, we live in a broken world, and all of us have got our brokenness, every one of us. So I just love what you're doing and say thank you. We are coming to where we have to, wrap up. But Ryan, we like to let our guest have the last word. And so I think about, the people that watch this and that listen to this, there are people in recovery. There are people who are still struggling with addiction. There are family members. There's professionals, non-professionals. Just want to give you the last word. What would you like our audience to hear from you as we end today?
Perpetual incremental progress is unstoppable. Meaning, like, if you could just get a little bit better than yourself yesterday and do that day after day after day, like, that's all you really need. Again, that's another simple but very hard thing to do. But start small.
Can you say it again?
Say it again. Perpetual incremental progress is unstoppable.
That's so good. So good.
I have a 12-and-a-half-year-old that I'm about to pull this up, and that is awesome.
That's amazing.
That is awesome. Ryan, thank you so much. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you for being here.
Congratulations on your baby.
Thank you very much.
And your sobriety. It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
And inspiring.
Dr. D, thank you for being here and hanging as always. Loved it.
This was a fun one. This was a fun one, Dr. D.
Love it.
Now, what did you say, Ryan, that later on he's going to get what did you call it, a gift?
Oh, you're going to have to pay the bill for that Taco Bell.
I'm going to have to pay the bill for, yeah. So
that's not going to go away easily, you realize.
We're not talking about this anymore.
Ooh, we are, Ryan. We are.
Ryan, thank you. Everybody who's watching or listening, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time on The Hanley Effect.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for The Hanley Effect. To learn more about our programs, visit hanleyfoundation.org or call 844-502-4673.